Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I'm going to discuss what is a subquery in SQL. So this is the basic questions for the SQL interview preparation. So what does mean by query? We will understood. So query meaning request for the data, and to request the data, what we do is we use select command in SQL. Obviously, what we will do is we will put the column names. We will specify the column names which you want to pull from statement we will use, and then we will specify the table name. Okay, so table name, it may be a one or more table name, and then if you want to filter the data, what we will do, we will use. So this is the a basic structure for the query. Okay, we will use where clause to filter the data. Okay, so subquery meaning inside this query, anywhere, either in the select statement, either in the from statement, or in the where clause, if you write another query, that query is called a subquery. Sometime we may refer as an inner query or nested query. That is fine. But subquery is nothing but a nested query. Query inside a query, meaning we will have more than one select statement in that select statement in that query. This is how it works. So let's take an example of employee and department. If you look at the employee table, so employee table shows the employee ID, name, and then department ID. Department names are sitting into the different table. That table name is department, and department ID is associated with its name. Now the question is, if someone asks you, let's say you have two different tables, and if someone asks you, okay, to get the names of employee, to get the names of employee which belongs to HR department, how you will do, or for the IT department, how you will do. So first, what you need to do is you need to get the department ID for the specific department. So how to get the department ID? So I will say select and department ID. So I will use here D underscore ID as a short name for the department ID. Okay, so DID is for department ID, and from which table you will get. So you will get the table from the department, right? Departments. From this table, you will get the department ID. But for which department you want to find, so there where clause comes in a picture to filter out the data, and I will say where d names nothing but department name is equal to let's say HR. This is your query. This will give you the this will give you the name of the, sorry, this will give you the department ID, right? But our interest is to find out the name of employee, right? So how to find out the name of employees? So on the basis of this, meaning on top of this, what we are looking for, we are looking for something else like select name, or I will say, okay, I will use name, and then from the column name, sorry, table name is employee. So okay, employees, right? Now, what is the relationship between these two tables? If you look, the department ID is common, right? If you look, the table department ID is common between both the tables. So using that, okay, using that, what we will do, we will filter here for the department ID. So we will get the name from the employee, where department ID is equal to, and then department ID is returned by using this query. This query will give you the department ID, where the department is HR, and the value of this will be the execution, or after executing this, value becomes 1, right? So I will add 1 here, right? So this will return. So instead of 1, we can put this query, and this is what the subquery in SQL. This is where the subquery in SQL comes in a picture. Okay, when you have to deal with the actual databases. Okay, this is what the example of subquery in where clause. Let's say you sometime what happened, you may needs to write the query in from, instead of specifying the temp employees. Okay, what we can do is we can use the query. Okay, so next example is let's say you may wants to find out, okay, you may find out count of employee by department. Okay, so now question is how to get the count of employee. So obviously you will take the count of employee ID against each department ID, but you have to uh, get the result for the department name, not for the department ID. Okay, so first at very first place, what we will do, we will write a query to get the count of employee by department ID. Right. So here I will say department ID instead of this. I will say D dot ID. Right. So department ID and count of employee ID. Okay, let's consider. So this is what I want. And from which table I will get? So obviously I will get this from the employee table. So I will say employees, right? Employees. Now this will give me the count of employee ID based on the whatever the grouping I will do. So I will say group by department ID. Okay, on the basis of this, this will give me the count of employee ID. So I will use alias here. I will as a employee count by department. Okay, this is what the name I'm going to use. Alias, so temporary name I'm going to use for the this newly created column, a new addition of column. This is fine. So now this query gives you the count of employees by department ID. But what he wants to do is you wants to find out the count of employee ID by department name. So I will use joins and uh, to produce the result what we are looking for. So here I will say department D name. I will say okay, D name, department name. Now this alias I will specify there. Okay, so this D name, then employee count by department. This column will comes from. Okay, now we have two different column. D name is coming from the department, right? And another one is coming from this employee. Okay, so I will use emp as alias for this entire result. Okay, this will be my next table, right? So here I will specify, I will use alias department, and then I would like to join the department. Okay, this query will behave like a table. This query will behave like a table. We are writing a query in the from statement because we don't want to use the table as it is here. We want to use the grouped data, meaning the modified result, right, of existing table. So I will use query instead of table, and I will perform the joins here, right? So join I specified for this table, and obviously once you use the join, so for the department I will use dept as a alias. Okay, for example, let me do some changes. Okay, so now department is coming from the department. So department dot id name is coming from this. So I will say this. Then this will come from the employee emp, and let me bring it on the new line from department, and then I'm going to perform the join. Okay, join is going to happen with this query. Okay, right. So this is how it works. And but yes, you are supposed to specify on which column you are going to perform the join. So I will say department.did, the department ID from the department column is equal to did from employee, right? So here I will say emp.did. So on the basis of these two columns, so okay, so this emp.did is coming from this temporary table. This is what the table I used here in the form of subquery, right? So this is the example where we need to write the subquery in the from statement, right? Instead of table. So instead of column also, if you wants to get the single value the for the entire column, so you can use the subquery inside a select statement. That is another requirement, but that is very less. But these two are mainly important in case of subqueries. Okay, subquery has different types. So we will see the types of subqueries in my next video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. I hope you like the content of this video. Do not forget to subscribe web channel.